That was a very large house. I'd say it's about 5,000 square foot. Rochester Hills, that would be west of Troy, upwards $700,000 to $800,000 house. That was built about 5 years ago. I would say that basement was about maybe 3,500 square foot. It was big. So they had a leak at the entryway door, and they had a flood. They called in a company to clean it up, and every time the people that own the house went downstairs, they noticed they were getting stuffy. So they subcontracted a mold test. The mold test came back that they had very high levels of Stachybotrys and Chitomium. I got the call because they are immune deficiency issues in the family. Yeah, they were becoming reactive to the mold in the air. Headaches, anxiety, fairly typical for a microtoxic mold like a Stachybotrys or Chitomium. Well, mold affects everyone differently because it's all about how your immune system and how you break it down in your bloodstream. The wife's, yes. And the gentleman had cancer twice, and his immune system was compromised, so he was being affected by it also. And because he did his research, our process is EPA-approved green, so there aren't any harsh chemicals involved. We walked through the house, and he wanted remediation done. We spent about 2.5, 3 hours in that basement fogging it. There was no smell. There was no nothing.
So nothing visual then. So any idea where the mold was?
Obviously, with the report, they did have high levels of microtoxic mold. It was just basically a poor cleanup. What they do is they'll clean up the area that has been intruded by, whether it be water or whatever, but they don't address the issue of what's being done in the air. So 85% of your mold is just floating around, and 15% of it's actually surface mold. So what happened was that the water just triggered the mold to start growing. And once they wiped away and dried everything off, you've got a bunch of mold that's just floating around in the air, multiplying, and nothing was done about that. That's why this process works.
So you don't think the mold was there was mold like under the floor or in the walls or anything like that?
No, not at all.
But surely you could just turn a fan on, pull out all the air, and problem solved. What am I missing?
Well, that is somewhat applicable. The residual amount of air that's left and the molecules that are left, it would still grow. I mean, they had some bedrooms down there where the doors were closed. They had a fairly large furnace room. They had a workout room. So even opening everything up, a majority of that mold, unless you get a cross vent, you somehow can blast everything out of there. Generally, it's going to amass itself again unless you address it. That's the beauty of what you're talking about, is that you would have to put a fan in there for anywhere between 5 and 7 days. And you don't really know what the result's going to be. Versus doing a dry fog, you can be in and out of there in 2 or 3 hours with an after test showing that the mold is at, if indeed there still is mold left, that it's at healthy levels.
Surely, though, even if you took the air out, wouldn't there be residual mold sticking to surfaces?
Absolutely. Everything.
So that's the problem then, is even if you got rid of the mold in the air, it's got the potential to come back because it's actually on surfaces. Could be on the couch. It could be in the rugs on the floor. It could be anywhere.
I mean, the easiest way I can describe mold is that when you see the sun setting and you can see the dust in the air, the dust just isn't in the air. It's on all surfaces. So that's
the theory is you put a good filter in the HVAC system, it's going to pull it out of the air, right? Surely.
Once you clean the air out, it'll keep the air clean. Absolutely.
But if there's mold in the air, won't it pull it out of the air?
You'd have to have something that was pulling the air in a very aggressive manner. Just putting a filter on a furnace will keep mold at bay if there's none there. But if you have a saturation of mold, even the furnace pulling that in is not going to pull in 3,000 square foot of air to kill any virus.
So what if there was mold under the floor or in the walls? Would this process kill it?
If it was under the floor, no, it would not. It does get into the drywall, microscopically. It gets through the paint and into the drywall, but it does not go through the drywall. So if I wouldn't take on a job that had anything mold that was underneath the floor, because it has to be ripped out.
So how would you know when they do the test? Are they testing to see if it's in the walls, or do they just test the air?
Generally, when they're testing, you're going to see some type of warping, whether it's in the drywall or the floor itself, or air pockets. That's an indication that you have mold, either in the wall itself or under the floorboards. With the exception, you can take and drill a hole into a wall or a floor. But if you don't rip that out, you're kind of just throwing mud at the wall, making a guess at where you think the mold would be growing.
So, and if it was a leak, and it was in the drywall, you would see the water damage on the drywall, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would be buckling. It would show air pockets. It wouldn't be solid. To the touch, it would be soft.
That was the issue I had. So this is the equipment. This is the two jets.
Yes.
So are they each blowing out a different?
No, they're blowing out. When we do it, we do Instapure, and then we do an antimicrobial called Everpure. So what we do is the Instapure will go in and kill all the mold on the surfaces and in the air. And then the Everpure is an antimicrobial that attaches itself to all the surfaces. So once any mold is introduced into the environment, the Everpure has a positive charge. Mold has a negative charge. They're actually attracted to it. So this Everpure basically stabs it out and kills it.
So is this done in two steps, two processes, where you're both are pumping the same material and you do that, stop it, and then do the second one? Or are they each pushing out a different one?
Nope, there are two different processes. The first one we do is we apply the Everpure to the air to kill all the mold. And then we take those heads or jets, and then we apply it on the surface, almost like you're painting a wall. You just you go back and forth on the ceilings, the walls, all the furniture. And then it's microscopic. You can't touch it or feel it or sense it. That one took about 3 hours.
Does it affect like the furniture or anything, pumping all this stuff out?
No, actually, that's the beauty of dry fog. Old school remediation, they want to pull everything out, throw everything away. We're the complete opposite. We want everything in the house because that dry fog gets into the clothing, gets into all surfaces, couches, rugs, everything. So it's a completely new way of approaching mold remediation.
So it doesn't leave any kind of a smell or anything then?
No, it dissipates. The Instapure will turn into microscopic water and air after 40 minutes. There will be a slight smell of vinegar for about an hour or two later, but that all dissipates.
Breathe clean and breathe fresh. Transform your life with pure maintenance and discover how our revolutionary remediation process can change lives.